tell you for a fact that this election is between...
They sold farm recently for 100 million.
There's no meaningful development that can happen without peace, without us being united.
Arrest all unregistered vehicles.
I think we have shown the depth and breadth of talent in our Conservative Party.
Because you want to prevent a situation whereby that powdery substance.
A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on another edition of Straight Talk right here on Bright Television, the home of talk and entertainment. Don't forget that the program is basically designed to look deep into issues that affect Nigeria as a country. Nigerians are citizens. Welcome to the program. My name is AYOBAMI ADEYEMO. Kindly follow us on all our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and make sure you get your TS TV decoder channel 102 on TSTV Africa. Let's kick off with some beautiful breaking news. And of course, in the media space, it's expected that President Muhammadu Buhari will be unveiling the new redesigned Naira note today, at a moment from now. According to the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, he mentioned this on Tuesday that President Muhammadu Buhari will unveil the newly designed 1,500 and 200 notes today. Whenever we get more information, we'll definitely let you know about that. And still on President Muhammadu Buhari's achievement, yesterday President Muhammadu Buhari flagged off the coal mining integrated development project in the northeast zone, the first of its kind in that region. President Muhammadu Buhari said that the oil exploration at the coal mining river located between Gombe and Bauchi states have already attracted over $3 billion foreign direct investment and will boost Nigerians' fortune and earnings. According to the president, this project is expected to start with a daily production of about 50,000 barrels of crude oil. A good development from there. Away from there, we cross straight to River State, where Governor Wike has also come out to give some little hints about what happened in 2015 to the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It seems as if the People's Democratic Party's internal crisis is not over yet. Governor Wike recalled what happened during Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's tenure while approaching Atiku Abubakar for his support. What Atiku Abubakar? Let's watch it. We'll be back to give you more.
Jonathan as a sitting president. I'm not talking as a Cuba, as a presidential candidate. I'm saying as a sitting president. When he had won his primaries, people forget history. Jonathan went to London in Dorchester Hotel. He went to plead with this presidential candidate today, Atiku Abubakar. Say, please, my brother, come back to the party and support me. You know the condition they gave to Jonathan? He should relinquish his ticket not to run as the president of Nigeria. That was a sitting president and a presidential candidate of a ruling party. They gave him condition. Telling him to relinquish that ticket for him not to run. So when I see some people running around talking rubbish, they forget history easily. Today, we are not saying the presidential candidate should relinquish the ticket. We are not being selfish. We are saying since we are not a presidential candidate, let our people take chairmanship. They say they will kill me. Is it possible? You know, what I don't like in people, we forget history easily. We forget history. We forget history that in 20...
All right, thank you so much for still staying with us on the program itself. It's Straight Talk right here on Bright Television, Home of Talk and Entertainment. And of course, I know you've been hearing the voices of my guests already, but let me just give you a little background. Nigeria now shares with other developing countries on various challenges and problems that is facing book publishing industry. Some include inability to provide adequate numbers of high quality books, and of course book piracy. Authors, publishers, unqualified authors, publishers are also part of it, and lack of capital. Amongst all these things, we are looking at a brighter future for the publishers in Nigeria, and we'll be looking at where we were, where we are, and where we're going to, as the case may be, the future of this great industry. And to join me to have a smooth conversation on this particular subject matter on the program today is there are two persons. Anyway, let me the ladies first, according to what we were learned and we were told while growing up. Well, she is the co-chair 2022 Conference Planning Committee, and she joins us on the program. She's Mrs. Mushima Comfort CHENGE. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You tried.
I must try.
Mushima. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being
pleasure
on the program. And I have the Executive Secretary, Nigerian Publishers Association, and the person of EMMANUEL, ABIMBOLA. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now, with my little introduction, I know that there are a lot of challenges that the Nigerian Publishers Association is facing, especially book publishers here and there. Whether we like it or not, we know that there is piracy.
Yes.
Book piracy here and there, lack of fundings here and there. Amongst all these things, let's kick off from you. Where is the Nigerian Publishers Association right now? What are we facing?
Thank you very much. Just like you rightly mentioned, there are a number of challenges. Of course, you know that everything in every organization, every sector, there are challenges and then the good aspects. You would agree with me that publishing is actually like, let's say, the mother of books and book publications, because every book you get to read, you've ever read, it comes from the publisher, from the publishing industry. So there are a number of challenges. Just like you mentioned, the piracy, we also have, you know, all the papers that are being used to produce are usually imported. We don't have the paper production plants here in Nigeria. So by the time you have inflations, it actually affects the publishers, because the prices of from everything goes up, and then it affects the clients, it affects the publishers. So inflation is one other challenge that the publishers we're currently dealing with, because everything is being imported. So when prices of things go up, it affects the importation of the papers, and then it affects the overall prices of what the production should be.
Well, you mentioned, you said everything is being imported. Papers, we have ink, we have what else? The equipment, the machines, and
yes,
everything.
imported.
So all have been imported. We
yes.
can, as a country, we don't produce any of this.
No, we have the printing machines imported, the DIs, the bigger machines, even the cutting machine, everything is actually imported. So
interesting, and it's a big challenge indeed.
Yes.
Let me cross to your Executive Secretary, Nigerian Publishers Association. There's another problem that while growing up, I understand that we always have people that are not qualified to be publishers. Do we still have them?
Yeah, thank you very much. We still have them. Just like you rightly said earlier, the major problem facing publishing is piracy.
yes.
And of course, when we talk about piracy, we are talking about people who are not qualified to publish. Because pirates are not qualified publishers. Yeah, they are not qualified publishers.
Oh,
what they
that's why
just
they are
do,
pirates now.
Yes.
yeah, pirates, what they just do is that they steal the work of the publishers, the original publisher. They steal the work and then reproduce in commercial quantity.
Substandard quality.
And substandard quality also. Because most of the time, when you look at the pirated works and the original, they are not the same. Although recently, they have also advanced. You see, the criminals have advanced that they also now print abroad.
They print abroad.
They print abroad,
yes.
such that at the end of the day, you now find it very difficult to distinguish between the original work and the pirated work. But that is a major problem. So most of the profits that should go to the publishing firms, go to the pirates, because they flood the market with their books. And you, guess what? They don't pay overhead. You see, as a publisher, from origination, to the completion of the work, you have to pay. You pay marketers who market your books. You buy the machines, you buy the papers, the ink and everything. The workforce. You pay all the workforce. You pay them. Even for marketers who market your books for you, apart from paying them salaries, you pay their overheads. You give them vehicles. You fuel the vehicle. You pay, for some other things. They don't pay all that. The work is done, complete, 100%. They just steal it and then take it to printers, either locally or abroad. Lots of them in Shomolu, in Lagos, in Ibadan, in ABUJA, everywhere. And then they reproduce in commercial quantity and sell to the public. So that's what the pirates do. So it's a major problem to the publishers. And this, apart from affecting the profit of publishers, also affects the government.
It affects the government.
It affects the government.
Now, it's two ways. It's two parties are also suffering from this. You said the publishers and the government.
And the authors too, in that case.
Yeah, the authors
are also being
and
affected.
let me tell you how this happens. Now, it affects the government because the profits of the publishers have gone down because pirates have stolen part of it. Now, and the tax that should go to the government will not go to them because, it is the profit that is taxed by government. So, the higher your profit, the higher the tax. So, the appropriate tax that should go to government will not go to the government. So that is how it affects the government. And then the authors, their royalty. Royalties are paid based on the quantity sold, the number of copies of books that are sold. So where you are supposed to sell, let's say, 50,000 copies, pirates have taken, let's say, 20,000 out of it. So you have only sold 30,000. So you pay royalty based on the number of copies you sold. So it affects the author. And it kills intellectuality.
Exactly.
Because they are not motivated to write again when they are not getting adequate compensation on the books they write.
The effort that they have put in.
The effort that they have put in.
And even for the working clients who maybe just come, I have a manuscript and I need you to produce and take up and produce it as a publisher. You're affected by the time you give them the costing of what it would take to produce their books is usually high compared to what it should have been because of the importations and everything. So it affects everyone.
A big deal indeed, and we need to tackle it. But as association, the Nigerian Authors Association, what are the efforts that you put in place to address this? Now, you mentioned the government is affected, the authors are affected, the publishers are affected. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
We must achieve this.
All right. We have put in lots of effort. Or let me say we are still putting in lots of effort. Now, the government also is doing a lot. There is the Nigerian Copyright Commission.
Yes.
That is the agency set up by government, to deal with the issue of piracy.
Penalties.
To deal with the issue of piracy, whether book piracy or any other intellectual property. Piracy. Even those in the music and the film and what have you. So NCC is doing a lot. And we work directly. We have a collaboration with the Nigerian Copyright Commission. As a matter of fact, we are represented on the board of Nigerian Copyright Commission. Such that in making decisions, that will eliminate issue of piracy from our society and of course in the publishing industry. So these are some of the efforts. We do enforcement, raids together with Nigerian Copyright Commission. We have relationship with the Nigerian Customs, so that, because I told you that they import some of these books, printed, completed works, they import into the country. So that's why we have a relationship with Nigerian Customs, NCC also, such that as the books are coming in, they are intercepted at the port, because they will come through the port and customs is there. So we have relationship with them. Several times, the Nigerian Customs had seized some containers of books and handed over to the Nigerian Copyright Commission.
Interesting.
And some of these people, it's either they are on the run or some of them are caught and then prosecuted.
So we've had cases of people that have been prosecuted.
We've had cases of people that have been prosecuted.
Okay. All right, let's look at, we're still trying to, wrap our heads around the challenges and our, of course, way forward now. For authors, you mentioned that most of them are frustrated because of the income they get, the cost, and of course the importation that affects, or the inflation that affects the production itself. How do we engage the authors and encourage them effectively to get proper books produced or published?
Thank you very much. We need to do that by, first of all, addressing the challenge. And how do we address the challenge? The importation. How do we get the materials at a cheaper rate? Once that is done, everything will be reduced and they'll be encouraged.
Can't we localize it? Can't we get these materials in Nigeria?
Is
it impossible?
Yeah, it's possible, but sometimes you look at the quantity. You know, in printing, the higher the quantity, the lower the cost. And then you look at also the quality of the materials you want to produce. Of course, here too, we're beginning to produce very quality materials, but it can't be compared with what we get over there in terms of quality. And this is what makes it us to produce abroad. And then when you produce abroad, the costs and everything. So the authors will be encouraged by the time these costs and everything is slashed down. They will get it at very cheaper rates, and then they will be encouraged to produce their books.
I need to add also to that you see, like she said, we have to bring down the cost. And how do we do that? The government needs deliberate efforts to ensure that we are not 100% import dependent any longer. Now, what do we need to produce papers? We have them in Nigeria. But the paper industries we do have before, they are in comatose. We have the Iwokme paper, the Oku Iboku, the Jeba. All of them are in comatose. So why can't the government resuscitate this paper industry or encourage the private, maybe public-private partnership? You know, if we say, okay, the government cannot do it, cannot go into business because it is not the function of government to do business, then they privatize it. Or encourage foreigners who are, there are foreigners, there are also local people who are indigenous, you know, industrialists, who are ready to invest in the production of paper. First, the production of the pulp, because pulp is used for production of paper. So we can get people who can invest in the production of the pulp. We have the pulp here in Nigeria. So we can invest in that. That is agriculture. Once we invest in that and we have it here, our soil is good enough for the production of pulp. And then from there, we can get the raw materials for the production of paper is here. So we just need to look inward, you know, rather than focus on the oil. Is it the oil that we are focusing on now?
But interesting, we're discovering more oil, so we'll still focus on oil.
But then we also need, because, you know, the intellectual industry, you see, publishing is the intellectual industry. We have nobody can be in government, the politicians, all of them in the house, all the people we have in the ministries, is because they have attended school. Education is key. And so we need to focus on what will make education more affordable and simple. We are talking of universal basic education. How do we get these things simple for people? You know, it's by investing in the production of books, and there can be books without the publishers. So if we invest in the production of that, you know, let's still leave the machine aside. But once paper is removed and other consumables, we can do other consumables. Yeah, the ink and what have you. I'm sure some of these things are produced from maybe chemicals and what have you.
Paper takes the highest
paper takes the highest cost.
Of it. So once that is addressed.
Once that is addressed, then we have it, then the cost can come down.
Well, interesting indeed, and I know Nigerians are actually, you know, curious. They want to hear more about what we're discussing on the program this morning. Without publishers, there won't be books. You mentioned
there won't be
without books, there won't be learned people in the society.
Be you a doctor, be you a lawyer,
a reader, there won't be bestsellers. That takes me to the reading culture in our country, Nigeria. Let's talk about it. Are we good? Have we developed over time? Our reading culture in Nigeria?
I would say it's improving. You know, there's this popular saying, if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book, and he or she will never find it. But I think we are reaching a point where that is gradually being addressed by the book clubs we're having and the different reading programs that are being created. And I think more can be done. More can be done. By the time we create deliberate systems to make people read, starting from the younger ones, I think it's going to improve and create a very new atmosphere and give us a better reading culture, because readers are leaders. So if you want to lead, you must read. If you are not informed, you cannot inform. So reading is very, very important. So
you agree that we're improving when it comes to reading culture in Nigeria? Are we?
Yeah. Let me say, it's both. I would say that we are improving, and then we are also not improving. Okay. Now, what do I mean? Now, if I say we are improving, because people will say, oh, our reading culture is very low or is bad. No, we are reading. Especially in this age now where we have lots of other, you know, medium of reading. You know, we have the internet, you can read on your smartphone, your iPad, and your iPhone, and what have you. So digital reading now. Apart from what we look at is the traditional conservative, hard copy reading. Yeah, but people read. But the question is, what do they read? That's the next thing that we could ask. But sincerely, we can say that reading culture has gone down. Most of the young ones, what they do is they read for exam. They are not reading for pleasure. There is a difference between reading for examination and reading for pleasure. So the reading they do is just to pass the exam, and after the exam, that is all. But how many people read for pleasure? And that is where, the issue of literary works, creative writing. Most of our people don't do creative writing reading. No, they don't read literary books, literatures, motivational books. Yeah, it's the educational, just to pass exams. And that's where we need to bring back the reading culture. Even in the schools, how many libraries do we have around? Functional libraries in schools. Even the state libraries, the national libraries, are people patronizing? And of course, not everybody can come to the state library or to the national library. There is need for us to encourage or bring back the school library and then the community libraries, where people can, we have a lot of reading clubs now, book clubs and reading clubs and what have you. But there is a need for people to have the books available that they can read, so that those who could not afford to buy can go to the library and read. You can pick up a book, maybe a Chino Achebe book, a Wole Soyinka book, or any book, and then you read, maybe motivational books, and then pick up one biography and then read in the library, you drop it and then you go. So there is need for the community libraries, the school libraries to be encouraged, so that people can have access to what they want to read. Apart from also the one that we have, on our gadgets, digital gadgets like on our phone, the iPad, the iPhone, and what have you, that we can also read.
Well, indeed, we have lots to talk about. After the break, we'll look at the challenges or the improvements that digital era is also bringing into the reading culture, and how we can actually redefine publishing in our country, Nigeria. And don't forget, I'll also ask you after the break your relationship with the National Library, the Nigerian library.
They sued from recently for 100 million.
Having a smooth conversation and relationship with them. We'll go for another break. One more time.
No meaningful
Have this
development that can
conversation.
happen.
It's still Straight Talk right here on Bright Television, Home of Talk and
Without
Entertainment.
us being united.
Arrest all unregistered vehicles.
I think we have shown the depth and breadth of talent in our Conservative Party.
Because you want to prevent a situation whereby that powdery substance will be flushed immediately.
Tell you for a fact that this election is between.
They sued FORTHAM recently for 100 million.
There's no meaningful development that can happen without peace, without us being united.
Arrest all unregistered vehicles.
I think we have shown the depth and breadth of talent in our Conservative Party.
Because you want to prevent a situation whereby that powdery substance will be flushed immediately.
I'm glad to know you're still with us right here on Bright Television, Home of Talk and Entertainment. The program is Straight Talk, and we always tell you that we focus on issues that affect Nigeria and Nigerians. My name is AYOBAMI. I still have my guests in the studio with me, the co-chair 2022 Conference Planning Committee for the program that is coming up next. And of course, she is Miss Sushima Comforts Cindy.
Thank you very much.
I got it now. And of course, I have the Executive Secretary, Nigerian Publishers Association, EMMANUEL ABIMBOLA. Thank you.
Thank you very
for
much.
joining us. All right. Before we had the break, I mentioned that I will ask some few questions, and your relationship. You know, you were talking about library. You were talking about how Nigerians should use these libraries, where we must have a community library, state library, functional libraries in our schools, in our communities here and there. What's your relationship with the National Library agencies, as the case may be?
Thank you very much.
Have a strong relationship?
Well, of course, you know, we are talking about books, about publishing, and then, of course, close relationship with the library. Yeah, the National Library, as a matter of fact, I tell you that we cannot publish any book without getting a particular code or number from the National Library.
Okay.
So that shows that publishers and the National Library, we have close relationship. There is what we call the ISBN and the ISSN. So if you are publishing books, you need the ISBN, International Standard Book Number. And then for journals, you know, you talk about the ISSN. So we get these numbers from the National Library. And then after the publication of every book, because we have, you know, a distinct ISBN for every book. No two books can have the same number. So you must do what we call legal deposit. Maybe about 3 or 4 copies, or 5, I can't remember vividly now. You know, that we have to submit to the National Library. 4 copies, must be submitted to the National Library. So by this, you know, the National Library is in custody of the books. So we have good relationship with them, because books and the publishing, you know, is the same. And then the library, you know, that's where you have, you know, collection of materials, reading materials in the library. As a matter of fact, the program that is coming up, the CEO, the head of the National Library, will be, you know, on the panel.
Okay, the National Librarian now.
The National Librarian. Professor Anunobi, Chinwe Anunobi. She will also be,
that too.
She will also be on the program to show you how, you know, close we have, how, you know, the close relationship that we have had with the National Library, and that we still maintain. So she will also be on the program, because we cannot be talking about reading and the library will not be there.
Part of the conversation. Well, I hosted Professor Chinwe, and she mentioned a lot of things. That's digitalization, and how it's going to affecting libraries in our country, Nigeria. It will take me back to the question I want to ask you. What I would like to know is, you was talking about, you know, the traditional publishing, and of course the digital world now. How has it affected the publishers, as the case may be?
Thank you very much. You know that the main difference between the traditional and the digital publishing is just the hard copy. When you have it digitalized, it becomes an e-book and it's not printed.
But the feeling is different when you flip through.
Yes, of course, it's different.
The feeling is different, because
it's different.
when I hold a book,
when you have a physical book, yes, some people like to read physical books. They feel more like they're reading a book, while others feel very comfortable with the soft copy book. So it works for different people.
So for publishers now, how has it affected the publishing world?
Of course, drastically, in the sense that when books are made soft copies and they are not published, then it's taking off the cost. No, not just the cost, taking off the jobs away from the publishers. It's just like when the banks began to have transfers, you know, POS and everything, then even the staff for the banks began to reduce, you understand? So
is it a thing of concern? Should we be concerned?
No, it's not a thing of concern. You see, what I tell publishers is that it's not a thing of concern.
Yes.
The digital is there, is the reality now. We cannot shy away from it. But it cannot replace the traditional book, or it's not replacing it, it's complementing it, such that all the books that you have in the traditional way, in hard copy, you can also, you know, put them in electronic form, on different platforms online, so that people can have access to them. So if you are published 5 books, you know, A, B, C, D, and E, then the A, B, C, D, and E books can also be put in electronic form, so that you can have both the hard copy and the electronic form. You just want especially this age, the children of this age. For example, I am more comfortable with the hard book. But my children would like the electronic book. The e-book, because they relate more friendly with the gadgets, the phone. You know, we are born before computer. They are born after computer. or born during computer. So they relate with the computer very easily and all these electronic gadgets. So it's easier for them. So we cannot shy away from it, but it's not replacing it, because even in the Western world, where all these things come from, they still produce lots of traditional books in hard copy form. So it's not replacing it. So publishers should be rest assured that e-books cannot replace the traditional book. But they should wake up to the challenge and make sure that their books are put in this alternative format, which is the electronic form. It's complementing what we have in the traditional form.
Yes, exactly. And then the books cannot, like, there are some schools in the rural areas that you can't use the digital books. So, of course, the hard copies are very important and cannot be replaced.
All right, interesting indeed. All right, let's get straight to the main conversation, of course, redefining publishing and reading culture in a digital era. What's this program all about? You are the co-chair of this 2022 Conference Planning Committee. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting program. It's actually tomorrow, 10 a.m. It's actually the first time we're having it in Abuja in recent times. So we're going to be looking at very interesting topics. We're calling on different people, booksellers, different people, the general public, to endeavor to come, because we're going to be looking and treating different issues, just as the topic says, redefining publishing and the reading culture in a digital era. So it's going to be a very interesting program tomorrow.
I understand that it's on Thursday, that's tomorrow, 24th, and on Friday, 25th. All right, I know you want to talk more about that. We were talking about digital era. What prompted this particular, theme for this time? This is not the first time the annual conference is happening.
Yeah, of course.
But why are we focusing on this?
Yeah, the reason is, every time or every year when we hold conference and we choose our theme, we choose them deliberately. We look at the trend of things in the society. So choosing redefining publishing is because of the issue we've talked about now, about the traditional book and of course the digital book. We're in a digital era, there's no doubt about that. Everything is going digital. If a time is coming that you won't be able to enter your room if you are not literate in computer. You can't even get your money now if you are not computer literate. It's as good as that now. So we looked at these issues, and then of course the challenges that we are likely to have in the society, and of course to encourage authors and publishers to make sure that they rise up to the challenge of the digital era, such that they can now begin to produce their books. Some people are still shying away from it, and they still do most of their books in the the traditional, the hard copy form. Yeah, but we felt there is a need to educate authors and publishers, and of course the public, to ensure that once they publish their books in the traditional way, they can also convert to digital form, and that they have nothing to fear. So that is what brought about this thing. And of course, because we are in a digital era, so there is a need for us to move with the trend of things. So the program is going to be fantastic because we have a capable hand to handle the topic. Yes,
capable hands to handle the topic. I know the keynote speaker is the chairman.
Professor Usman
Kuka, yes. He'll be right there, and I know that you're the guest, the special guest of honor is the FCT minister.
The FCT minister.
He will be there too.
He will be there. So tomorrow.
All right. The venue is definitely the Royal View.
Royal.
Yeah. So it's going to happen tomorrow. But let's continue on some of these beautiful conversation that we've been having. You mentioned that it will also open people's mind, especially the publishers, to see the advantages that they can actually tap into in this digital world. Now, for some reasons, one of the challenges that publishers have been facing is lack of funding. How do we address that? Or are you addressing this in this conference? Let me get from you. Lack of funding. Without money, you can't publish.
Of course, you can't publish without money. We're looking at different ways of addressing that, but not directly addressed at the conference tomorrow.
Because even if you want me to be a digital, move into the digital era, I need funding.
Yes.
Yeah, you need funding, for publishing, whether digital or the traditional. We are not actually addressing that at the conference tomorrow, but then the way we can address this issue and make funding available because publishers are really suffering. In fact, banks I'm not sure they give loan. We don't have any bank that is designated to give loan to publishing. And we are making a mistake by doing that. The government should look into that area, because there is no way. We have lots of books. Government is spending on books. The UBEC is buying books, for school. But then those people that are supposed to publish the book, the publisher, they are not getting enough funding. And that is what is affecting publishing in Nigeria. Yes. So government should deliberately make effort, to support publishing, give loan to publishers. We have the Bank of Industry. You see, do you know that on the list of the Bank of Industry, publishing is not there? Publishing and printing is not there. Why? They don't give loan to printers and publishers. Then how do we make book available? And we need book everywhere. Even in the bank, they use book. The central bank, they will publish their journals, their reports, and what have you. Reports of companies are published and printed. It's publishers that will do this and printers. But we are not giving loan to them. So government should make deliberate effort, maybe now include publishers on the list of sectors or industries that will be financed by the BOI.
As the association actually addressed this, the Nigerian Publishers Association, have you addressed these? Have you?
Well, let me say we are addressing it. Yeah, we are addressing that issue. We are addressing, and very soon we'll be approaching the government and of course the BOI to see the need to put publishers on the list of beneficiaries,
because I believe it's going to encourage especially the young
the young entrepreneurs
that want to venture into this particular. Well, the conference is one of those important conferences that many people want to be part of. You mentioned that the national librarian will be there,
the national librarian, because you see the keynote speaker is Professor Kuka Usman. He's going to present the keynote speech on the theme. So after his presentation, we have a panel discussion. And we have people on the panel. And let me tell you how we selected the Professor Anunobi Chinwe will be there, the head of the National Library. And then we have the president of the Association of Nigerian Authors, Dr. Camillus Uka, would also be on the panel discussing reading and publishing. And then you see we have carefully selected them. Yes. Then we have the president of ANCOPS, Abuja. ANCOPS is All Nigerian Conference of Principals of Secondary Schools. So we are talking about reading and publishing. So we have brought in the president of ANCOPS, in Abuja. We also be on the panel. And then we have someone also from the publishing industry. That is Dr. Samuel Okere. He's the director of the Babcock University Press. He's an associate professor in the university, and of course, also the director of Babcock University Press. So these are the 4 people on the panel that will be discussing this topic after the presentation of the keynote speech tomorrow.
So the first day there's going to be a panel.
There's going to be a panel. The first day is actually for the public. That is the conference. The second day is our annual general meeting, and that's one is internal for publishers alone. So the public will not be there.
Okay, so the first day
that is
that's the 24th.
Tomorrow, 24th.
Tomorrow, it's
exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, a lot to be discussed, a lot to talk about. Before we go, I want to ask. I've had conversations with a lot of people, and one thing I ask is, if you're going to judge the level or the standard of education in Nigeria, how do you describe it? Do we have a good standard yet? I'm asking.
Should I go with we're improving? We're improving. That is why I said, well, the standard of education in Nigeria presently, I wouldn't want to say it's the best, but we're getting there. We're getting there. You see, from the teachers, the lecturers, from all the levels, I would just say we're getting there. It's not yet the best. It's not yet the best, but we're getting there.
Education is the bedrock of any developing nation and any great nation.
It is.
Are we there?
Yeah, we are getting there. Just like she said.
Even with our budgeting, with our plan,
with our budget, and if you look at the standard, now you can look at it from different perspectives. The perspective of the curriculum, we will say that the standard is high.
Yes.
If you look at the primary school curriculum, the secondary curriculum, in fact, there are some topics that have been embedded in the curriculum that were not there when we were in secondary school.
Sure.
So the thing is big now. The volume of the curriculum is high. So you can say that the standard is high when you look at that. Some of the things in their curriculum, now they are learning in the senior secondary 2 and 3. I learned them when I was in the university.
Absolutely.
Maybe 100 or 200 level. So by that, the standard. But then the other way around, when you look at the output, because the way you can measure the standard is the output, what comes out of it. So the output there in the market shows that the standard is low. Because we have lots of graduates from universities, polytechnics, colleges that cannot perform up to expectation. And that is where you look at the standard of education. You use that yardstick to also measure whether we are improving or not, which shows that we are not improving.
Yes, and just like you mentioned, the curriculum base is very, very high. Just like you gave the instance, I have my kids in the primary, and of course, being a publisher myself, going through what they do, even the assignments, I get to understand that what they're doing is very high up there. Little children being taught, and they understand it. The good thing is they understand it, they know it. You are like impressed. Sometimes you have an assignment for a primary school child and you are looking at it like, what? This is interesting. So I think where it all goes wrong, we can say, is at the university level somehow, where they now have the liberty to maybe work on, study themselves, and then have the liberty to work without curriculum based. I think at that level,
we should be able to.
And I think age is also affecting them. You see, those days, and I'm sure up to now in the UK, if you are not 6, you cannot start the elementary school. But here they start as early as maybe 4 or 5. So age is affecting them because the volume of work they do, you know, is not commensurate with their age. Now a child will finish secondary school at age 15. Ideally, the normal, you have to, you know, secondary is 17. Now, when we were spending 5 years in secondary school, you know, from 1 to 5, then you still finish at 17 with 5 years. Now they spend 6 years in secondary, and then they finish at 15, 16. So the age, the age is also a factor. And I think the government and our curriculum planner should look into that, because it's affecting the standard. And you see, there is nothing you can do about that. Educationists know that, you know, age goes with learning. You see, this psychological theory by Piaget that classified, you know, learning with age is very important. It's key. And so we need to look at, because it's affecting the standard of education, the output. It's just the head knowledge that these children have.
Well, indeed, we've been able to have a broad conversation on the program this morning, and thank you so much. But before you go, I want to also ask this. We're talking about standard, and I know Nigerian Publishers Association also have standard. Now, how do you maintain your standard with the members in terms of publishing? Do you have team that check and balance every publisher in terms of what you expect them to do? You want to react to that?
You answer that better.
All right. Okay, let me answer that. Because there is a way we check standard. In fact, you know, on our list now, members of Nigerian Publishers Association, we have over 300. That is not all the publishers we have in Nigeria. We still have some other publishers out there that have not registered with us. You understand? And of course, the reason is because you must meet up with the requirements of being a publisher, credible publisher in Nigeria, before you can register with us. So that is why such publishers have not registered with us.
Roadside
so
publishers.
We encourage, some of them are just quacks and roadside who publish book without ISBN. You know, and that's not the standard.
We call them printers. So we just say they are printers.
So printers, not publishers.
Exactly. So what we do is that there is a standard that you must meet before you can be a member of Nigerian Publishers Association. And of course, I will encourage publishers out there, you know, to come register with us so that they can be part of the credible publishers. You know, Nigerian Publishers Association is the umbrella body of publishing firms in Nigeria, and that is the one recognized by government. Government does not recognize any other publishing association. So I encourage people to still come, because we keep the standard in NPA.
All right, thank you. You said there are printers, there are publishers.
Yes, there's a difference. You can be a publisher without being a printer. You just do your work and you hand it over to the printer.
All right, amazing conversation indeed. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for being part of the conversation of today's program. Well, we'll be looking at the main theme for the conference that will be coming up, that is redefining publishing and reading culture in a digital era. That is what we're looking at. It's going to happen on the 24th and 25th of November 2022 at Rockview Hotel Royal, and we're expecting that the public will also be part of the conversation on the 24th, where there will be keynotes, speech, and of course a panel to address different challenges and how to solve it. I've been having conversation with the Executive Secretary of Nigerian Publishers Association, EMMANUEL ABIMBOLA. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I must get it right. Munshima. Comfort CHENGE, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Thank you very much.
And
she is the co-chair 2022 Conference Planning Committee, and she's part of the conversation. All right, that's the package on today's edition of Straight Talk right here on Bright Television, of Talk and Entertainment. Follow us on all our social media platforms and make sure you get your TSTV decoder. Like I always remind you, I keep telling you, when you play your part, I play my part. We have a better place called the Federal Republic of Nigeria. On behalf of everyone that's been able to facilitate this production, Joyce, we say thank you, and every other guy behind the scene. My name is AYOBAMI ADEYEMO. God bless you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Goodbye.
Tell you for a fact that this election is between
They sold farm recently for 100 million.
There's no meaningful development that can happen without peace, without us being united.